So Barca's first big test was in the Champions League, right? Because Barca they haven't faced any big team so far this season. Not even in the preseason, you know.
No.
So the first test was against PSG, and the first half of the PSG game I liked it. I thought the first half was good. It was back and forth. I thought any team could have scored,
Right.
and any team could have gone to the second half of the lead. But then we go to the second half, dude, and I think that's where I want to say, bro, that's where a lot of the fans they got a little disappointed, and I want to say the reason why is because let's be honest, bro, PSG dominated Barca in the second half.
They did.
That's just the truth. The bottom line is that Barca got dominated in the second half, and I don't think we've seen Barca get dominated like that, bro. And I mentioned it to you earlier. Since Xavi's era.
Xavi's era, yeah, was one of the
Xavi's era.
Xavi, Coman, at the end, the list goes on, but since Xavi's era, yeah.
Since Xavi, we haven't really seen Barca get dominated like that, bro. And under Flick has done a wonderful job.
Yeah.
I think Flick has brought Barca back into the map, to compete against the best. And there's no shame in losing to the treble winners because PSG are the current treble winners, and they're the treble winners for a reason. They're there for a reason. So there's no shame in losing to them, but I do think that the way you lose to them matters a lot, especially for Barca and at home.
Yeah, and Champions League,
Champions League match, and I'll take a loss to PSG, to City, to Real Madrid, to Bayern, any of
top
the
clubs,
top clubs, because it can happen, bro. It happened under even when Luis Enrique had MSN. It happened on the Pep Guardiola's era, where they would lose against some of the top teams. But I do think, I do feel like the second half was a little bit more like damn, it kind of hit hard, to be honest, bro, because it brought back a lot of memories. I'm as a Barca fan,
Yeah.
But what do you think though? What are your thoughts on it? What was missing? What, if anything, Flick could have done, better, or what changes he could have made that maybe would have improved the game? What mistakes he made? What are your thoughts on that game?
You know what, dude? I agree with what you said. I think Barcelona in the first half, they played pretty good,
Yeah.
They were able to keep up the momentum. And the second half, dude, they came pretty much asleep.
Yeah.
And I think they came in tired and they just looked gassed out. You get me? And I think that what Barcelona, kind of showed was that they weren't able to pretty much compete the full 90 minutes against PSG, with going back and forth, of course, getting the ball.
Like with the full intensity.
Yeah, with the full intensity.
Like how they started, because they started pretty good.
And I can reference one player in particular for me was Lamine Yamal.
Yeah, he started off good, yeah.
Pedri as well. Pedri, when Flick subbed him off, he looked exhausted.
Dead, yeah.
And I felt for him. You're like, damn, at least Pedri, bro, is always going to be one of those players that you're never going to go ahead and just say, this dude's not doing a good job, or he's not even trying. Nah, dude, Pedri, to me, he was trying to run. He was running, of course. And I just think Barcelona, kind of gassed out. In my opinion, like you said, being at home, losing the Champions League, it kind of always, against top club, it kind of, it's, gives you a little reality check sometimes, because you realize that, PSG is a top club. They're treble winners,
Yeah, they're treble winners for a reason, right? They smoked the Inter in the final 4-0 for a reason, so.
Real Madrid as well, dude.
Yeah, Real Madrid, they smoked Atletico Madrid in the Club World Cup, too.
Yeah, I think they
put like 4 or 5 goals past them, no?
And then to answer your question on what maybe Flick could have done differently, in my opinion, bro, I was kind of surprised with his substitutions. I agree with you, right, when you say that Flick has done a wonderful job for Barcelona. But in terms of substitutions, I was kind of confused, to be honest. For the first time in a very long time with Flick's substitution, I was confused because both you and I have said, right, we have been wanting to see, because Flick plays with 2 holding midfield, right, with Pedri and De Jong. And we've been saying, right, man, we would like to see De Jong and De Casado play together. Because, we agree that Casado, in general, bro, he's not a bad playmaker. He doesn't have bad passing. He's always running. He's very consistent. He has very great stamina. He'll work hard in the middle. And then you want to go ahead and transition, and maybe having Pedri play as Cam, right? Maybe kind of just, doing whatever he wants in the middle, pretty much.
Well, he's done, and he did it for the national team.
Yeah, he does it for Spain.
He plays as a Cam for Spain, so he could play there.
Right.
And yeah, we
and the reason why, though, is just because of Olmo, bro.
Yeah, yeah.
You
So I
know?
mean, we've talked about that. You know, we would like to see, and obviously, bro, you know, we're just talking with, from the outside. We don't know.
Yeah.
You know, at the end of the day, Flick is a coach, so he knows best. But you know, I would love to see, you know, Pedri playing as a cam, De Jong playing next to Casado, or Bernal. You know, when Bernal gets a little bit more fit. Um, just because you know, unfortunately, like you say, you know, for Olmo, you know, he was one of the players that for that game he was just extremely disappointing. And
All right.
so I guess what the defense, the first thing that I want to say is that I think we're starting to feel the absence of Inigo Martinez in defense, because I think that Inigo Martinez, he wasn't like the tallest player, he wasn't the most physical player or the fastest player,
Yeah.
but he was a very good organizer.
Man, dude, that dude was really good tactically, dude. I
Yes.
think that's one of the players that every coach would probably love to have in the team.
Yes, and unfortunately, we kind of saw, you know, the absence of Inigo Martinez, you know, kind of affect Barca and against PSG. And unfortunately, you know, his absence is also making Kubarsi look a little bit more shaky. Because I
Yeah.
don't think Kubarsi is as good on the left side as he is on the right side.
Right.
And unfortunately, ever since Inigo Martinez's departure, he's been having to play on the left side. Because you know the first goal, you know I mentioned it to you earlier, right? The first goal that came from PSG was because Kubarsi, you know, he slid and he missed
Yeah,
it.
he missed the.
He just straight out missed it. So, you know, I feel like if Inigo Martinez would have been there, maybe that ball would have never gone through.
Maybe not. No.
Whatever, you know, we're talking about, you know, we're speculating the what ifs, right? But one thing that I have noticed is that Kubarsi has been a little bit more shaky on the left side than on the right side compared to last season. That's one thing that I have noticed.
I think it's safe to say too, bro. Regarding just to kind of feed to your point, Inigo Martinez was a hell of a defender for Barcelona last season, right? I can understand why he left. You know, considering his age, maybe the money they offer him, I get him, bro. You know, 34. You can't judge a player.
Yeah,
like
that's
that,
true.
you know?
And I think, and I kind of feel like maybe he thought that he gave the best he could at Barca already.
You know, I completely understand them, but I think both you and I have also said, right, in the beginning of the season, we said that Barcelona defense looked shaky. And
Yeah.
remember, I told you that one of the first games, we said Barcelona's defense looks very shaky, and I don't like it because you can tell that they need a lot to work on. They have a lot to work on, you get me? Barcelona came into the game handicapped a little bit as well with certain players missing, but so did PSG.
Yeah.
PSG came, I think, more handicapped than Barcelona did.
Yeah, and then sticking to the topic in defense as well. You know, we also have Koundé, whom surprisingly, bro, Koundé to me,
He also looked tired, huh, bro?
he looked tired. He looked like he was making a lot of mistakes, a lot of bad decisions. He kind of looked like he wasn't able to keep up with the winger as well.
Do you think that it had something to do with Lamine Yamal not being able to track back as much?
Yeah, of course. So everything is a domino effect, dude. So, Lamine Yamal not being able to track back, and you can say, oh, it's because Lamine Yamal, perhaps he wasn't fit to play the full 90 minutes, so he wasn't going to be able to help out in defense as much. You know, that also put more pressure on Koundé. Probably run more, and whatnot. But surprisingly, he was one of the defenders that I also thought was having a hard time that game. And then
they were doing a lot of 1-2s on him.
they were, and then there was a play where one of the wingers from PSG, I forgot his name, who it was, left him on the floor.
Yeah, he's only 17, dude.
He left him on the floor, so it's a bad look because you're like, whoa.
But you know what? I did like the fact though, bro. I know what player you're talking about, but I love the fact that when they came back hustling, bro, and he still was able to. Where the player, he wasn't able to get the shot off.
Yeah, he was able to come back.
He kind of distracted him a little bit. But
yeah, you should not get in that position because what if you would have lost the ball?
He was able to.
What if you would have lost the ball against what is the winger?
Kvaratskhelia.
Him or Dembele?
Yeah.
It would probably be a different story. So that's what I'm telling you, that he, for some reason, he didn't look as solid as I know he could look. And then another thing too is, this says a lot, bro, about, Araujo. Because Araujo wasn't even brought in, and at some point I texted you, I remember I sent you a text and I was like, hey, I would like to see maybe Araujo coming in. And I was thinking, Araujo comes in and then Eddie Garcia goes as right back.
Yeah, you did. I remember you did mention that because I remember you said that, why not go ahead? And I agree with you, especially now that you look at the game. You rewatch the game and you rewatch the highlights and you can kind of pick out certain highlights. You can kind of see that Koundé was kind of struggling in that game, right? And like you said, it has a lot to do with maybe Lamine Yamal not being able to track back, Lamine Yamal himself not being able to play the full 90 minutes after an injury. So it takes a strain into Condé. But like you said, and I remember you mentioned, why not go ahead and then put Eddie Garcia as right back and give him a breather where you then go ahead and maybe bring an Araujo, right? But then, like you also just mentioned, it speaks volumes, dude, because he didn't put him. Flick didn't put Araujo in.
He put in Christensen, bro, for Eddie Garcia,
Yeah.
and then when you mentioned the subs, that was another sub that kind of didn't make any sense, to be honest, because I feel like Eddie Garcia was not the worst defender for Barca.
Not that day, bro.
To
But
be
you know
honest,
what?
against
The
PSG.
only reason why he took him out was because Eddie Garcia was cramping up, dude.
That's probably it. Maybe
That was the only reason why, because Eddie Garcia did not. Eddie Garcia, I know that if Fleek prefers a very organized like defender more than that physical like defender that you see in the Premier League. And this is we can see it for the second time. Inigo Martinez and Eddie Garcia. Eddie Garcia does come out pretty good with the ball from the back. Barcelona's way has always been like that. But he doesn't, I don't think he trusts Araujo fully, in my opinion.
Yeah, which honestly, if Araujo wasn't injured or he didn't have any knocks,
maybe let's give him the benefit of the doubt. Maybe he was not fully recovered.
Maybe he
I
was,
don't know.
yeah, before, who knows? But if Araujo was fully fit and he didn't even put him, it kind of it speaks a lot.
Yeah.
It speaks a lot, to be honest. And then we can also talk about Gerard Martin. Gerard Martin, is another player. Well, of course, I think he's doing a good job covering for Balde.
But I wanted to mention something about Eddie Garcia real quick, and just to kind of feed off more of your point, with him maybe not putting him as a right back. Why not? Because why not? He did play against Real Madrid.
Yeah.
Against Vini Jr. Both you and I last season were kind of nervous, and we said like, damn, I wonder how Eddie Garcia is going to do against Vini Jr. And he did pretty good, bro. So I just wanted to say that, I think that, he could have maybe given that breather, put Eddie Garcia as right back, and then bring on Christensen if he wanted to, or Araujo as center backs.
Yeah,
and then
so
Gerard Martin, you were saying, though.
Yeah, and Gerard Martin, I feel like Gerard Martin has been doing a good job, bro, to be honest.
He's been doing his job, right?
He's been doing his job. I would say he's not as effective on the final third as maybe Balde is, but he also does a pretty good job defending. I remember the game against Newcastle, he did a pretty good job.
Yeah.
He was pretty solid. But, we kind of expect that there was going to be a lot of space there, and there was.
Yeah.
A lot of the second goal came from that side. So we kind of knew, we kind of knew that PSG were going to have some space, But, talking about injuries, obviously Balde only played like 20 minutes, I think?
Yeah.
20, 30 minutes. No, like 15, 20 minutes, I think he played Balde. So, Barca also, you can kind of say
That's also, in my opinion, wasn't a game for Balde to come in my opinion, bro.
Yeah, I think what Flick was trying to look for, it was ball possession and ball domination. But like I had told you earlier, I told you I was, that's what Flick wanted to look for, and I feel like that's what he wanted, but he wasn't getting it. And I feel like at some point, that's why I mentioned that why not bring Araujo in, because at some point you kind of have to realize like, okay,
you're not getting it,
we're not keeping the ball here in this game right here in this like last 30 minutes. So, and we haven't been doing it in the whole second half. So, at this point, let's just kind of see what we can do to maybe solidify our defense a little bit better. I'm not saying to disregard your game plan, no, but maybe put in Araujo who can give you more presence in defense.
Yeah.
Can go ahead and clear out a ball.
Especially after he brought in the number 9.
Yes.
Well, I'm talking about PSG's number 9. He came in, and that's more of a player that maybe Araujo kind of keep control of.
Yeah. So then, that was sort of my thought process, because I feel like Flick wanted to kind of like be like, hey, we can keep the ball, we can take the ball away from PSG, but it wasn't happening.
No, it wasn't happening.
It wasn't happening in the second half. PSG was just like PSG like they were playing at home. So, in defense, those are the kind of things that I saw in that game. Now, I mean, we're over here sitting talking about what if and this and this and this and that, but then we don't know, because I feel like that day for Fleet, kind of everything went wrong, bro. And then you think it's easy to come over here and point out his decision making.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
But if you really think about it, bro, like even the players that we can go and transition to the midfield. Even the players, for example, Casado and Bernal, when they came in, bro, they didn't look sharp.
No,
they didn't look sharp, and then you're like, wow, like, like
Casado was struggling out there, bro.
He was struggling out the Bernal too, bro. Bernal looked slow.
But that's what I'm. Yeah.
So then I was So now I'm thinking, and I remember when I think Bernal was the one who lost the ball, I think, or it was Casado, and then even the whole stadium was like, oh, I don't know if you heard, I don't know if you
No,
saw
I
that.
didn't hear that.
Okay, well if you watch the highlights,
Well, for me, dude,
and I remember it real quick, and I was like, oh my god, man, like
I had
Barca
a lot.
can't catch a break,
I
bro.
had a lot of oh my god moments, bro. Especially when Barcelona just kept blowing the ball away, bro. And I was like, oh my god, I said the same thing, bro. Because
It's
I
like-
was like, what the hell, dude? Like, why can't you guys just put in? As I know it's hard because PSG is pressuring, dude. But you guys are made for this too. You guys play like this. But once you, in my opinion, put 3 or 4 passes together, like you can kind of build some momentum after that. But if you're gonna go ahead and just blow the ball from the back, it's like, no, dude, you guys are just making it easier for PSG
Yeah.
at this time, at this point.
And then that's why I kind of feel like in that game, bro, everything was going wrong for Fleet because he just wasn't catching a break. He put in Casado, he put in Bernal, and unfortunately, bro, they were not able to keep the
Well,
ball.
I agree. Look, regarding the substitutions with Bernal and Casado coming in, that kind of confused me though, bro. It kind of confused me. And the reason why I tell you it kind of confused, it's not me bashing Flick. I was just kind of like a little bit confused because of what he was trying to do. Because I can understand taking Pedri out because he was, you know, he was tired, dude. I understand that, right? But then I didn't understand why he took out Rashford
That one didn't make any sense, to be
for
honest.
Lewandowski, bro.
That one didn't make any sense because I think that game, if you were looking to keep the ball, I don't think Lewandowski
Or
is
catch a
your man.
counterattack.
Yeah, I don't think Lewandowski is your man for that. I think Lewandowski is your man if you are the one dominating and you want a player to score you a goal, maybe off a free ball or a header or whatnot. But if the opposition is dominating you, I don't think Lewandowski is the one that's going to be putting pressure, and I don't think he's the one that's going to be able to go ahead and go on a counterattack if you get one, you know, from a ball that's lost from PSG side. So that one didn't make any sense. I personally would have kept Rashford the whole game. And
I don't think I would have brought Lewandowski, bro.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It
Yeah,
wasn't the game for Lewandowski because Lewandowski was not.
They were blowing the ball, and I was like, when Rashford was gone, I'm like, who are you guys expecting to go ahead and make a run? Man, Rafinha's not there.
Yeah.
Rashford's not there anymore.
Yeah, so that one didn't make any sense.
So Barcelona was just blowing the ball to be like, hey, get the hell out of here. You know, like once Barcelona starts doing that, bro, because we watched Barcelona for so many years. I'm not saying we know them like perfectly, but what I'm saying, given the fact that we've watched them, and every time they start blowing the ball away, bro, even prior seasons, prior years, prior eras, Barcelona they're not comfortable in the game, bro.
They're done, basically.
They're done.
Once they start doing that, they're done.
They're lost
Yeah.
of focus. They're no longer sticking to the game plan, and they're lost, bro. They're lost.
So then, you know, we can kind of go and start talking about the midfield now because I feel like there's one player, which you know who I'm talking about, that I think you can say is the catalyst of everything going wrong.
Yeah.
Because I feel like if you look at Olmo, right, and I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna talk about Olmo because
Do your thing.
I was talking about
Let
Olmo,
him
bro,
cook.
because
I'm gonna let him cook, guys.
because honestly, what is Olmo there for, dude?
Yeah.
But seriously, like on a serious note, okay. So you have Olmo, right? 65 million, and you have a player whom I think everybody was kind of like expecting a lot from in this game. We all had eyes on him because we wanted to see what he was going to do in this game, especially because Barca paid 65 million for him, right? He has that price tag on him.
Yeah.
But if you look at the game, bro, I want to say, and I'm not blaming him, but I want to say that I believe that Pedro and De Jong got tired in the game, and I think it's because of him. I don't know, but I believe that if Gavi or Fermin were playing in his position instead of Dani Olmo, I feel like Pedro and De Jong would have been less tired. I feel like Pedro and De Jong had to cover more ground and battle that midfield against PSG because Olmo, in my opinion, was not doing his job. He just wasn't doing his job. Olmo's job as a cam, right? As a cam, what do you expect your cam to do?
Yeah, go ahead.
Grab the ball, go forward, and create. But yet, he wasn't doing it, so then you kind of have to look at Pedro and De Jong and be like, okay, can one of you guys do it then? Because I can't do it. So then, what does that mean? You have Pedro and De Jong having to cover more ground going back and forth.
Yeah.
Right? Was he really connecting well with them too? He wasn't really connecting well with them. Transitioning the ball from the back into the attacking third. He wasn't doing that. He wasn't connecting the midfield to the attacking third. To Rashford, Ferran Torres, or Lamine Yamal. He wasn't doing that either. So,
And he had a clean shot.
And he also had a clean shot that, in my opinion, bro, if you're worth 65 million, you should bang in the top corner.
I think your son will make that.
Honestly, yeah, I think my son would have made that. Bro, it's because, look, I'm pretty sure he practiced every single day during the week.
Hey, entran con los mejores.
Yeah, right. You know, it's funny because I was going to post it, but I saw somebody posted it. Like, seriously, bro, like, I'm pretty sure he trained a lot before that match. I'm pretty sure he practiced the shooting, the passing. And you're going to tell me, bro, that you have a dead ball right there, dude, and you're going to shoot it straight to the goalkeeper? Because he shot it in the middle, straight to the goalkeeper.
Bro, the ball didn't even get past, because there was 2 defenders in the net.
Yeah.
The ball didn't even get past the first defender. The first defender blocked it.
I'm expecting more, bro. I'm expecting a feint. Pass it over to the other side. I'm expecting coolness, something, bro. If you're worth 65 million.
I'm expecting for you to blow the hell out of that net.
Or if you're gonna
confidently.
Or if you're gonna blow it, you gotta blow it like you're confident.
He's passing a ball.
You know, but you know what though, bro? I think unfortunately for Dani Olmo, I think we're starting to see his mindset, and I think we're starting to see his mental strength when it comes to being able to compete.
Do you think that he can though? Do you think would you give him the benefit of the doubt and be like, okay, yeah, he had a bad game, but like, do you think?
I want to see Dani Olmo, bro, grab that position and not let Fermin come back, or if Fermin does come back, not make it easy for Fermin.
And the reason why you say that is just because you want to see what he's about.
I want him to show us, to prove us wrong. I want him to show us sort of what he showed us at the beginning of last season, when he came in freshly to Barcelona.
Yeah, because he was not doing as bad as last season, but his injuries, bro.
But right now, this season, bro, he's been injury free.
Mm-hmm.
So this season, he has really no excuse. The only excuse that he has is that Fermin is better, has been doing better. But like I said, bro, you're worth 65 million. So technically speaking, you need to be doing what De Jong did last season, where Casado benched him, and then De Jong came back. And yeah, when he came back from his injury, it was hard for him to go ahead and step up. But then when Casado got injured and it was his turn to step up, De Jong stepped up. And you gotta give credit to what credit is due, right? De Jong stepped up and he didn't give Casado back his position.
Mm-hmm.
But Dani Olmo, bro, it's like, you know, Fermin got injured and he's just like, oh, well, you know, I'm okay. You know, like if he comes back and I have to be a sub, I'm okay.
So that's what I was gonna tell you, bro. My take on Olmo is the fact that, for me, it kind of annoys me, right? I don't want to bash on him too much because I know that every player can have a bad game, but let's be honest, I think that Olmo hasn't been having so far. I'm not saying it's gonna be like this forever, right? Everything can change, bro. Because we used to talk about the Jung too, and look at the Jung now.
Yeah.
Let's just state that, right?
Yeah, that's true.
The thing about Olmo, though, that does frustrate me so far about Olmo this season is the fact that, like you mentioned, you have players like Fermin and Gavi who are out, injured, and were free for Barcelona, right? Don't have a 65 million price tag. And the thing about Olmo that frustrated me in this game is not only was he not creating as much, he also was lacking pressuring. He wasn't pressuring, and he wasn't going ahead and giving a helping hand to that of maybe De Jong, Casado, and stuff like that, right? I'm sorry, De Jong and Pedri.
Yeah.
So I do agree with you in your take about that. The reason why, in your opinion, you think that Pedri and De Jong got injured was had to do with Olmo.
Yeah, they got tired quicker because I agree that he had a lot of factors to do in there.
And I agree 100%. And I know both you and I are thinking about the exact same play. When PSG's goal came, right, this dude tried to like pretty much shoot the ball from like halfway the soccer
field. You know what's funny, dude? That after he did that, I was sending you a text, bro, and then while I was sending you that text, PSG scored the goal. Yeah. And I remember I sent you that text. I was like, Dani Olmo should focus on creating play instead of trying to make Olympic goals.
Yeah.
And then bad PSG scored, bro. And I'm like, my goodness, man. I was like, I had a feeling that something bad was going to come from that play, bro. Because what the hell are you trying to do? Like, bro, you trying to do that or you attempt to do that when you're winning 3-4-5-0?
Yeah.
When the game is pretty much over, the game is dead. And it doesn't make any sense because he's 26, 27, right?
Yeah, 26, 27, yeah.
So you have enough experience in the game to know, and you should have already known this. Me thinking, if I'm Dani Olmo and I have that ball right there, I'm thinking, PSG like to keep the ball, so I think I should keep the ball and play, and maybe pass it back and start creating all over again.
Don't make it easier for them, dude. That's what
The
we're
last,
talking about.
the last thing I want to do is give them the ball.
Don't.
You know that the opposition likes to keep the ball, so I didn't understand it, bro. Because to me, and at that moment, I kind of realized, I was like, nah. I was like, Daniel, no, he's not in the game. He's just mentally not there. And then lo and behold, later on, he misses that one clean chance.
Man, yeah, the one
Yeah.
clean shot, bro. Yeah, he should have missed. He should have not missed it. But you know what, dude? Yeah, like that's what I'm saying. Like for me, Olmo also. Oh man, like I was looking at Olmo. I'm like, damn, what's wrong with this dude? I said, you know, remember I texted you. I said, man, dude, Olmo for me, there has not been one moment in this season thus far that he's impressed me, dude. And I'm not saying that we need to be impressed, but what I'm saying is like at least your work ethic, right? And that's the reason to feed your point earlier where you mentioned about, you know, Rafinha and all that. You know, you sometimes miss Rafinha, bro. Like his work ethic, Gavi, Fermin. You get me? You cannot go. Yeah, maybe they'll give you a bad pass, but the thing about it, bro, is that they'll be the first ones running back trying to get the ball.
Yeah, dude. So you know, I said,
you know what? Sorry to cut you off, but real quick, and you know what? He tries to make that Olympic goal. That's what kind of annoyed me. I was gonna tell you that he tries to make that whatever goal, you know. And then, dude, when you look back at the PSG goal, I'm like, why is number 20 just jogging back? It's Olmo.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what? Dude, you better get your ass to running.
That's what I'm telling you, bro. Dani Olmo was just not in the game.
So that kind of didn't remind me about Olmo, bro.
I kind of felt like that game came too big for him. You know, I don't want to say that because I know that he played the Euro.
Yeah.
And he played pretty good in the Euro. So I don't want to say that it was too big of a game for him. But maybe the pressure was kind of on him because he was a starter.
Well, I think he knows that the pressure is on him, bro. Because I think that Barcelona fans know that. We expect him to.
And I think he knew that a lot of eyes were on him because let's not forget that in the Euro, he came in as a sub.
Yeah.
Right? So then
I think in the last game, though, the last couple of games, he started to start.
Yes.
If I'm not mistaken, though.
But at the beginning, he wasn't a starter, though. I think he was starting to play for Spain after Pedri got injured. Because Pedri got injured, I remember in the Euro.
Yeah.
And I think that's when that's when Dani Olmo came in and he was starting, but he wasn't a starter. But, you know, at the end of the day, the Euro is just a couple of games. You know, it's not like it's a whole season.
38 games. For example, the Champions.
And the Champions League, they have more games and more matches. So, you know, I don't know. I feel like the pressure maybe got to him, but Dani Olmo for sure was one of the players that was just not there. And, you know, my theory is that because of him and because of his lacking, I think Pedri and De Jong ended up getting more tired quicker.
Yeah, because Barcelona looked really tired, bro.
Yeah, they looked like they lost legs by the 60th minute. They looked like they were just done. And the last 10, 15 minutes, to me, it seemed like Barca, when it was 1-1 still, to me, it seemed like Barca were asking for the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what it kind of looked like. But, you know, we can go ahead and talk about the front now because, you know, like I told you earlier, to me, it's a domino effect, right? So, another player that I think we kind of underestimated, you know, his presence is Rafinha.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why is because Rafinha, bro, you know, he's that player that's always going to be pressuring you. And he's always going to be running. He has like a third lung. So and that's why Flick likes him. That's why Flick, you know, loves to have him as a starter because he's always pressuring and he's always helping with defense. And remember I told you, and this was back when Rafinha was on the shopping. I remember I told you, but you know what? The one thing that I do like about Rafinha, bro, is that he's always striking back and he's always running. And I remember you tell me, why don't give a damn what he does in defense?
Nah, at that time I didn't care, dude. Because
I want to know what he does in attack.
That's his job. You know, that's a basic job.
But you know, now
you do see it. Yeah.
But now he is trying to do a little bit more in attack in the final third on the fleek, right? He's been doing a lot more, and then you're also starting to appreciate the running that he does and the pressure that he puts on the opposition. And like I said, his absence being there, bro, also put more pressure on Lamine Yamal to be the one tracking back on that wing to help out in defense for Koundé. And Lamine Yamal, he was not fit for the full 90 minutes, bro. Mm-hmm. He just wasn't fit for the 90 minutes. So that in its turn puts more pressure on Lamine Yamal. Lamine Yamal has to go back, try to track back to help in defense, but then that takes away from his creativity in the final third, which is what we want to see him. So it's all a domino effect if you really think about it, you know. From Rafinha to then Lamine Yamal, to Koundé being affected on that side, from Dani Olmo, non-existence, lackluster, affecting Pedri and De Jong, putting more work on them to the point where they fatigue quicker.
Yeah.
So, that's sort of what I saw, in the attack, and then, and then I don't want to focus too much on it because I don't know how many times we talked about this individual. But bro, one thing that I would say is that we cannot go on and pretend like we're elite, like Barca are elite, and they're gonna beat anybody, bro. If we have Ferran up there, because honestly, bro,
Alvarez.
Yeah, honestly, he's the only player. Like seriously, he is the only player that I believe can get us to the next level for Barca to win the Champions League. And honestly, bro, Barca be able to beat anybody comfortably, anybody. But with having Ferran up there, bro, like Ferran doesn't scare anybody. Ferran, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a couple of plays where Ferran was getting bullied out there.
Pacho was bringing his ass down, bro.
He was getting bullied out there, bro. He was getting bodied out there. He was being dropped to the floor. And then, of course, for example, this is one image that I have of Ferran Torres where when you as a fan, bro, you think this about your player and your team. Yeah, I just don't know what else to say about the player. When he was standing there to take the free kick.
That made me laugh, though, bro. That made me laugh, bro.
And I was just
way what did he do? He passed it.
It was
and he made a wrong pass.
Yeah, and then it almost cost a goal. The counter attack. So to me, that's the image that I have of Ferran Torres, bro. To me, honestly, and then and it's funny, bro, because when Ferran Torres was standing there alone trying to take that free kick, I was just thinking to myself, bro, and I was like, damn, this is sad for me to think this about a Barca player because I never thought this about a Barca player. To be honest, I never have, bro. And I was just thinking there, and I was like, what? I was thinking, what is this guy gonna do? Like seriously, what is he gonna do there? Who is he trying to scare? And for a minute, I saw him like as a PSG fan, bro. I kind of like when you're looking at the opposition, you're like, what is this guy gonna do?
Yeah.
I was looking at Ferran and I was like, what is he gonna do? And then I see the counter attack and I'm like, oh my goodness, I kind of knew it, bro.
Yeah, dude. You know what? The thing about Ferran Torres, bro, is that the only thing I will say that Ferran Torres is that he's always there. And he benefits from the other players around him, you get me? But yes. Ferran Torres is never going to be, at least at Barcelona so far, I don't know, I don't think he is, bro. He's never going to be that one change player, like in a sense where he can change the game for you.
He's not going to be a difference maker.
He's not going to
be a difference maker. Ferran Torres has benefited a lot, bro, from Barcelona's attack.
I don't know if you noticed this, bro. And I don't know if you noticed this, but when Ferran Torres scored the goal, he was looking around like he didn't know if he was offside. I think he was just standing there and Rashford saw him.
Rashford has been doing pretty good, bro, because I know for Rashford to see that pass, it's not easy for you to see that pass in the final third. You need to have the coolness, the tranquility, the vision, and you need to have the passing skills to make that pass. And Rashford's pass was really good. And, honestly, bro, like...
the image that I have, bro, is him getting up and he's like... going then to Rashford, like thinking, hey, I'm outside. That image was the one that was running to this dude, and I just kind of laughed, bro. I kind of said, "Still, kind of reminds me of just one of those dudes that like go to a place and it's like they're lost. It's like, oh hey, I just found like $1 million over here or something, dude."
It's just to me, the way I see it is that I don't think, in my opinion, bro, that with Ferran Torres up there, Barca can be considered elite.
I will consider Ferran Torres, in my opinion, bro, a backup for Julian Alvarez. At this point where we stand, bro, Lewandowski obviously should leave. He's gonna leave.
Yes.
Olmo can be considered, not only because I'm not going based off on this game, right? I'm not gonna be the type of player that be like, oh my god, he had one game. No, I'm not going. I'm just
going. He proves otherwise.
Yeah, I'm just going based on the fact that they can make money off of him.
Until he proves otherwise, bro, to me, it's fair play because I honestly don't see a difference between him and Fermin.
No, and especially when you have Fermin, and Gavi. If Barcelona does decide to keep Rashford, and if you have Gavi, you get me? So, Olmo can start being one of those players where Barcelona can go ahead and start looking at and saying, hey, maybe, you know what, in the future transfer market, they can probably just get some money off of him, bro. Because... Yeah. Like I said, Ferran Torres, whatever, dude. He comes in, he does his job. Maybe he'll score a goal, whatever. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt, right? But to be a starter at Barcelona, bro, I think that you do need a player like Julian Alvarez. A natural number 9, dude.
Yeah, unfortunately, yes, bro. And honestly, this season, unfortunately, Barca didn't address the attacking, the number 9 position,
I don't know why, dude.
which I think they should have addressed, bro. I know they were so obsessed with getting Nico Williams and a winger, and yeah, I must like, we said that we don't think Rashford was a bad signing, but they should have addressed the number 9 position, and they should have because like you mentioned not that long ago, right? With look at City, right? City got Haaland. City got Haaland for a reason.
City got the City. Look, before City got Haaland, let's not forget that, right? Pep Guardiola won the Premier League, but he wasn't able to win the Champions League. He then said, hey, you know what? Let me go ahead and get a number 9 position, a number 9 player, because he was trying to still play with the false number 9s. He had Foden again. He was trying to do the same thing that maybe he did at Barcelona, and it didn't help him. Even Arsenal, like how you were saying, bro, like Arsenal itself this season, they went for a 9, and they know that they have to go for a 9 to go ahead and compete, bro. So I think Barcelona, honestly, bro, we talked about it 2-3 years ago, bro, with Lewandowski coming into older age stage, and we said, like, you know what, Lewandowski getting to the age, bro, where, historically speaking, bro, a striker at 34, 35 is very rare for him to succeed. Suarez, Benzema, bro, you get me?
Yeah.
Two of the best strikers that we've seen in our generation, bro.
Yeah, they usually
That's it.
By age 34, 35, that's pretty much it.
Big
bro.
clubs are
I
like,
think-
bye-bye. Time for a new star.
Yeah, and then Lewandowski right now, he's 38 years of age. We really cannot count.
I don't bash on Lewandowski because he's given everything in his career. Nothing against him, but it's kind of like a club, just like the players needs to know when to kind of separate from one another.
Yeah.
You get me? If no player's eternal, dude,
No, and then unfortunately, like I told you, we just cannot pretend to, that we're gonna scare anybody and be elite, bro. If we have Varane out there,
Nah,
that's just the
it's
truth,
not
bro.
gonna happen,
Like with
bro.
Varane, it's just not enough.
I will say with Fran, bro, I'll still stick with him as a sub.
And yeah, as a substitute, even though that's like debatable
It
because
still sucks though, paying 55 million for a
55
sub,
for a
in my
sub player,
opinion.
which is kind of ridiculous. But you know what, like, yeah, like you said, a sub, and then if Barca are able to get maybe the only player that makes sense is Julian Alvarez, bro. Then that's the only player that I see that can get Barca to the next level. Because let's say for example, Julian Alvarez been there against PSG, I think the game could have gone differently.
Oh yeah,
A lot more
100%.
differently. So, those are the kind of players you need, bro, in order for you to actually compete against the best and win against the best. And yeah, I mean, we'll see what happens, bro. Like, I'm glad that this happened now, though.
Yeah.
Because Barca have time to fix it. Barca can learn from it, and then they could be a wake up call, like, hey, we did good last season, but we gotta keep going.
Yeah,
we cannot slack off. And then that kind of proves Flick's point because Flick has been calling the players out, saying that they need to put the egos to the side, they need to focus, work hard, and they need to go ahead and improve and give 100% the full game. And this kind of proves his point. If the players are going over there giving 50%, 60%, bro, this is what happens. You come up against the best teams in the world and you end up getting embarrassed.
I think sometimes, like for example, and I agree with you because, like with Lamine Yamal, the only thing I will say about him that kind of does rub me the wrong way, bro, is that he is a little cocky. Too cocky for my liking. And the reason why I say that is because in football, bro, unless you're CR7, it doesn't really help you out to be that cocky. You could be confident. Confident is a whole different thing, but cocky because before the game, Lamine Yamal was talking, pretty much saying, he always posts his little Instagram, whatever, and he throws shots, and they actually Dini about that. He said, I don't really care about that. You should do your talking in the field though.
Which is true. And you can't disagree with that.
That's my only thing because sometimes, as a player, I think as a professional football player, they need to realize that one season is not going to define your career. You can have a good season, but doesn't mean that season is not going to go ahead and say, oh, the Lamine Yamal, he did good this season. You have to be consistent. Be consistent every single season. That's what separates that's what separates the average and great players, in my opinion. Yeah. You need to be able to go ahead and be consistent and just keep going. So I would like to see Lamine Yamal tone it down a little bit. That's not gonna happen. He's gonna be like, oh yeah, let me listen to this guy. No, I'm just saying though. You get me? I think it will benefit his career in the long run though, because that's the same thing. Maybe Real Madrid fans have to deal with Vini Jr. sometimes, where it's like, dude, just be quiet. Oh my God, dude, just run. Like just
play your game.
Just play your game, dude.
Focus on the game. And then, That's one thing that Flick needs to work on with Lamine Yamal.
But I think it's very hard, bro, for him to work on with an 18-year-old player
who thinks yeah, because when you're 18, but you feel invincible.
Yeah,
even if you're not a superstar, even if you're not Lamine Yamal,
no.
When you're that age, 18 to 24, they say that's the stage where the youngsters, they feel like they're invincible, bro. Like they can go through anybody, they can do anything. And look, maybe that can help him. That can help propel him to the next level. But he does need to focus on the game, just a game. And yeah, the talking. Of course, you want to do it on the field. And so far, he's done it.
Yeah, he has. I'm not bashing him, but what I'm saying is, like, sometimes, like, in a game, like the one that just happened.
Yes, so far he has done it. But there's gonna come games where you're just not gonna be at your best. And even if you want to be, you're just not gonna be your best. Or you could be at your best, but your teammates might not be.
Right.
So then you're gonna end up losing the game. You can get slaughtered, and then you end up looking like an idiot. So yeah, of course, focus on the game, talk less. But I think that's his personality. Unfortunately, bro, it's kind of like CR7. Even remember with even CR7 though, sometimes he would say some stuff, and then he would end up looking like a fool. Because
but CR7 was CR7, bro.
No, but do you remember this one time when Barcelona scored 8-0 against?
I remember.
Almeida. And then they asked him, Barcelona scored 8 goals against Almeida, and then he said, well, I want to see them if they can score 8 goals against us. And then the next week, the following weekend, but they scored 5 goals against them. So that's what I'm trying to tell you, that I'm okay with it, bro, as long as he does what he needs to do on the field. And I would say though that he's young, of course. He's 18, so you really cannot think the way maybe a 30-year-old thinks. But if you are coming off an injury, there's a high chance you're not going to be at 100%, even though you're 18 and you feel like you can go walk through any injuries. And look, it proved right. He didn't come back 100%.
Nah, dude, 10 minutes, 15 minutes, 20 minutes, maybe is what I saw Lamine Yamal do really good.
So maybe you don't want to talk as much after coming back from an injury, because you don't have after 4 weeks being off, because you may not be 100%, and then this can happen where he didn't have a good game. In the second half, he was nowhere to be found.
He was nowhere to be found, bro.
And in the first 20 minutes, yeah, he was good, but after that, it was just nowhere to be found. So yeah, of course, I focus on the game. Don't talk as much. But at the end of the day, if he backs it up on the field, I don't care.
Well, yeah, I mean, like you said, right? I think we pretty much covered all aspects of the PSG versus Barcelona game, and I think I agree with you. There's good thing that it happened right now. This defeat happened right now, because the same thing that happened with PSG, for example. Nobody expected them to win beat treble winners last season.
Last season they were almost out of the Champions League, and then this also brings me back to, I remember when Barca faced Inter. Barca beat Inter in 2010
with Mourinho, right?
When it was just the group stages. I think they got a tie at San Siro, and then they beat them 2-0 at the Camp Nou. But then when they met in the semifinals of the Champions League, Inter beat them 3-1.
Yeah.
At the San Siro, and then at the Camp Nou, Barcelona beat them 1-0. So it's like, the group stage, it doesn't really define anything, but I think it will be like a good wake up call.
It's a good stepping stone, where teams can use it to kind of like start, maybe getting into that rhythm where they're getting into that part of the season where, the teams play so many games nowadays where it's like they have to use the big important games to kind of like, gain momentum for the upcoming games.
Yeah.
But let's see what happens, dude. Let's see what happens. It's still very early in the stages. Season Champions League, everything, it's still early, but let's just go ahead and see what happens. That's what we're here for, bro. Just to break down the games, especially the most important games.
But one thing I would say, bro, and I want to end it, that it doesn't really matter what happens, bro, because at the end of the day, we know that Barca are gonna take it off against Madrid later this month.
So do you think Barcelona gonna come like home as a husband back in the 80s or 60s or 50s where they had a bad day outside of work?
Yeah, bro, it's gonna be exactly like that, where they had a bad day at work and then they're gonna go home and they're just gonna beat their wife. So Barca are gonna come back home to Spain and beat their wife, bro, which is Real Madrid. Did you see the meme? Saliste con mi mujer.
Oh yeah, well,
But that's what it is, bro. Barca are gonna come home to Spain and they're gonna beat their wife.
Hey, let's come back to this video, bro. In October, whenever.
Next thing I'm gonna beat them.
Oh man.
Nah, but yeah, I like that one. I like that one meme. You remember that one meme where this is one black girl with like a thing on her head and she's in bed like scared?
When
Barca.
the dude-
That's Barca, bro. That's Madrid.
Oh man, let's see what
They're
happens.
gonna take it off against Madrid, bro.
I'm
Madrid's
curious.
gonna be the scapegoat.
I'm curious to see what the class is gonna look like, dude. Let's see.
We'll
I'm
see what
excited.
happens.